Hi everyone, good day. I am Queenie Mahinay, and my part is to discuss to you the monitor hypothesis. Monitor hypothesis is one of five hypotheses developed by the linguist Stephen Krashen. The acquisition learning hypothesis, the monitor hypothesis, the natural order hypothesis, the input hypothesis, and the affective filter hypothesis. But we're going to discuss the monitor hypothesis. I am going to discuss the monitor hypothesis rather. So, monitor hypothesis, Krashen's monitor model. It is the acquired system acts to initiate the speaker utterances and is responsible for spontaneous language use, whereas the learned system acts as a monitor, making minor changes and polishing what the acquired system has produced. So such monitoring takes place only when the speaker or writer has plenty of time, is concerned about producing correct language, and has learned the relevant rules. So, monitor hypothesis asserts that a learner's learned system acts as a monitor to what they are producing. In other words, while only the acquired system is able to produce spontaneous speech, the learned system is used to correct or to check what is being spoken. So before the learner produces an utterance, he or she internally scans it for errors and uses the learned system to make corrections. Self-correction occurs when the learner uses the monitor to correct a sentence after it is uttered. So according to the hypothesis, such self-monitoring and self-correction are the only functions of conscious language learning. So the monitor model then predicts faster initial progress by adults than children. So as adults, use this monitor when producing target language utterances before having acquired the ability for natural performance, and adult learners will input more into conversations earlier than children. So there are three conditions to use the monitor hypothesis. So let's move on. So everyone has a monitor that tells them when something is good or bad. It requires these conditions: time, knowledge, and focus on form text. So according to the monitor hypothesis by Krashen, for the monitor to be successfully used, three conditions must be met. So for the conditions, first off is what we call the time. So time, we have time to think. What does it mean? So using the monitor requires the speaker to slow down and focus on the form. Second, the acquirer or learner must know the rule. In other words, he or she must have knowledge. This is a very difficult condition to meet, for it means that the speaker must have had explicit instruction on the language form that he or she is trying to produce. Last one is the acquirer or learner must be focused on correctness, focus on the form, feel a need to use a correct form. He or she must be thinking about form. It is difficult to focus on meaning and form at the same time. So, monitor hypothesis, there are three types of monitor users. Okay, let's move on. Individual variation in monitor use. So the first of is what we call the monitor overusers. Monitor overusers are learners who attempt monitor all the time. So these language learners are too concerned and focused on correctness that they can't speak with any real fluency. Some characteristics of monitor overusers are they know many of the rules of the language, the English language, Second, they are not able to communicate in speech. Third, their written English might be quite accurate. Fourth, they don't have speaking fluency because they are too concerned with being grammatically correct. Fifth, when speaking, these language learners make many pauses, repetitions, and speech repair. Second, monitor underusers. So when we say monitor underusers, these are the learners who prefer not to use their conscious language. These language learners are not focused on correctness because they have not consciously learned the rules or because they have decided not to use their conscious knowledge of the target language. Some characteristics of monitor underusers are they don't use the monitor under any conditions even when they have the opportunity. Second, they don't use conscious linguistic knowledge in their speaking performance. Third off, these learners aren't able to correct their own errors in written English. Fourth, these students might not like grammar. They believe that grammar rules are important but hardly used when they speak. Sixth, these learners tend to rely on instinct to spot errors in their second language performance. Last, these students are not embarrassed to make mistakes. The last one is the optimal monitor. So optimal monitor, these are the users or learners who use the monitor appropriately. This language learner are able to keep a balance between self-correction and fluency, so error correction is not an obstacle in the quest of communication. These learners use their knowledge appropriately. Some of the characteristics of these users are they have fluency and accuracy when they speak or write. Second, these learners are able to correct errors and mistakes in their own language performance. They know the rules and use them when they communicate. So let's move on. So to the monitor hypothesis difficulties in using the monitor. When using the monitor. So there are many difficulties with the use of the monitor, making the monitor rather weak as a language tool. First off, knowing the rule. This is a difficult condition to meet because even the best students do not learn every rule that is taught, cannot remember every rule they have learned, and can't always correctly apply the rules they do remember. Furthermore, every rule of language is not always included in a text nor taught by the teacher. So having time to use the monitor. There is a price that is paid for the use of the monitor. The speaker is then focused on form rather than meaning, resulting in the production and exchange of less information, thus slowing the flow of conversation. Some speakers over-monitor to the point that the conversation is painfully slow and sometimes difficult to listen to. The third one, the rules of language make up only a small portion of our language competence. So acquisition does not provide 100% language competence. There is often a small portion of grammar, punctuation, and spelling that even the most proficient native speakers may not acquire. While it is important to learn these aspects of language, since writing is the only form that requires 100% competence, these aspects of language make up only a small portion of our language competence. To sum it up, monitor hypothesis, the acquisition is through adherence and learning, monitor or editor. Overusers, fluency sufferers, underusers, accuracy sufferers, and optimal users, balanced. That's conclude my report. I hope you understand and gain knowledge. Thank you and Godspeed.